to Talkin VAWLS, episode number 36, brought to you by the Outright Geekery Podcast Network on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast needs. Also on the S&B Network on YouTube. Be sure to hit that like button, leave us a comment, and subscribe. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm Vols JP.
And I'm R Main.
We are at Talkin VAWLS _pod, VAWLS, on Facebook and Twitter. Give us a follow. Let us know your thoughts on Tennessee football as a whole. We're going down a different start to this podcast. Different start. I mentioned this to you guys this week, but I didn't tell you why. This is why we're coming out of the gates with a different twist. My daughter cheers for Optimus League football. And Thursday night, man, the way they schedule these games is an absolute nightmare. They play JV and varsity back-to-back. Well, football never stays on schedule, so the varsity game is always late. So it's like 9:30 at night before we're finally coming home on a school night. And my phone, my text notification is John Ward, it's football time in Tennessee. And she said, what was it? It was just me and her in the car. She says, what did they say? And I said, it's football time in Tennessee. And she kept she's like, what? Who says that and why? So I started going down this thing, explaining who John Ward was, what he meant, why it was special to me. And so then I have to go that extra yard, right? I got to go that extra mile. And so I get out the Touchdown Tennessee song from Kenny Chesney, put it on, start playing it. And I'm legitimately covered from head to toe in chills listening to John Ward. And maybe, I don't know, it was one of those things, and I was explaining it to her. She was interested, telling her how as a kid, you sit down, and everybody has this same story, right, where you turn down the TV and you would listen to John Ward. And at that time, we've talked about it on this podcast so many times that we were so spoiled growing up as Tennessee fans. And at that time when you did that, man, Tennessee was a special place. They were big-time football program. And I just started thinking back to all these memories. So that brought this question up. And, JP, I'll let you go first. Why Tennessee?
Well, I have to give props from old Dad. It was funny because last week, after the Florida game, I was talking to him, and we were talking about, that game and just all the struggles and how everything's been. And he was apologizing, jokingly. He was like, son, I'm sorry that I, put UT on you and watch Tennessee games, but so I mean it was a lot of that, but I've been kind of different all of my life. A lot of these kids, I can remember when I was 6 years old, like listening to John Ward when I was 6 years old. I mean, how many 6-year-old kids is going to sit there and pay attention to a football game on the radio? So, it's just something I've always listened to. It's all I've always watched, and John Ward was a big part of it. For somebody to never play a football game, that guy has probably had a huge impact on a lot of Tennessee football fans. And, I know when he passed away earlier this summer, I'll admit, I had tears. I did. And loved listening to him and Bill Anderson. Listened to something on Facebook the other day, a call that him and Bill Anderson had, and I was just like, man, it's just awesome. But just growing up in Tennessee and having some state pride, as well. And Tennessee is a special place. I know that we got beat today, and we've lost 10 or 11 straight now SEC games, but man, sitting here watching this Mississippi State Florida game, Mississippi State don't compare to Tennessee. Yeah, they're better football right now, but overall they don't compare. Tennessee's one of the top two or three programs in the Southeastern Conference, and hopefully we can get back to that because SEC and college football needs to have Tennessee as a good football program.
Some of our text conversations, especially like tonight, we disagree about things, we argue about things, but at the end of the day, and we're going to discuss it here tonight, and we'll probably disagree and argue about some things, but the bottom line is the three of us, the reason we argue and we get so upset and so passionate is because we care. And maybe that's wrong, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's wrong that we care so much, but it happened with a good friend, not even a good friend, my best friend on the planet. He was the best man in my wedding. Thought it would be funny to send me a message and say, "Go Gators," after the game. This guy doesn't watch football. He knows nothing about football. And I blew a gasket, and he just sent back, "Dang, man, it was just a joke." But to me, it's not just a joke. And I say this knowing that you two have done the same thing. And again, maybe this is wrong. I've missed weddings for Tennessee football. I've missed birthday parties, family events. I've missed a lot of things in life for Tennessee football, and it's because going back to that childhood and growing up a Tennessee fan and just something that you're passionate about. It's like, name one thing that you've been passionate about for that long, and whether it's right or wrong, man, that's just the way it is. What about you, R. Main? Why Tennessee? Why do we care so much?
I grew up on, and I got a couple years on you guys. Back in my first memories are at one point in time, my dad and Papa had season tickets to UT. So I'd stay, if Mom was working, I'd stay up with Mama, and Dad and Papa go to the game. And John Ward, hey, you listen to John Ward, but just, I remember Dad, I don't know why I remember this, actually, because I was really young when, and I can't remember the year exactly, Alabama came to Knoxville, rated number 1, and Tennessee beat them. And I can't remember if Tennessee was ranked. I don't think they were ranked during that time. It was a big upset. But just seeing, my dad and Papa were excited. And, God love his heart, he's not here anymore. My Papa passed away a couple years ago. And that's kind of where I got it at, was with them being, it was kind of, I kind of was allowed to go my own way, but I always watched how much they loved it. I always listened to John Ward, like JP said. I mean, what am I paying attention to at that age, that young, that I'm going to listen to John Ward and actually take it in? And because we didn't back then, and people may not understand it now because they've grown up in a different era, we didn't have ESPN2. We didn't have ESPN app. We didn't have any of this stuff that we have now. I mean, you get every single Tennessee game on TV now. Back then, if you get to see a handful, you're lucky. And that's just what it goes back to. It was just, you kind of grow up on it. You watch how much it means to those around you. Not only Dad and Papa, I mean, just anybody I knew. Back then in time, it was rare to see others who didn't pull for Tennessee. And you just feel that passion, and you just grow up with it. And it eventually it hits you personally, and you're in. You're all in on Tennessee. And so I'm going on probably with memories of it, not quite 40 years, but a long time. And you know what? If I want to criticize Tennessee for the product they got now, I don't need somebody to tell me I'm a fair weather fan. And we've all heard it. Boogie, you're more positive than JP and I are, and I'll give you credit for that. We kind of get a little worked up sometimes and maybe criticize to a fault at times, but I'll be damned if I need somebody to tell me I'm fair weather. I've been with this bunch for all my life, and if I want to call something like I've seen it, I'll call it. And but it's been there, and if we were fair weather, I'm pretty sure all three of us would have jumped the boat at this point. We wouldn't have stuck with this crap show that we've seen for the last 10 years. It's a lifestyle, man. Tennessee football is a lifestyle. Is it aggravating right now? Absolutely. But you know what? It is what it is. It's like you said, Boogie. I've skipped things. I can't think of the exact things I've skipped for it, but when my wife and I started dating, and she's a UT grad, but she didn't. I don't think she fully grasped how big of a fanatic I was on it, and there's been some growing pains for UT games, but was I in the right? Probably not a lot of times, but it is what it is.
There's the old quote that I think you can pretty much apply to this, and it's the old quote, for those that believe, no explanation is needed. For those that don't, no explanation will do. And the three of us, like, if you told me tomorrow somebody's getting married, I ain't going because Tennessee's playing. You don't have to tell me why. Like, I know why. You know what I mean? Somebody that doesn't understand, it doesn't matter what you say, no explanation will defend that. But just a different twist to start off this podcast. Give you guys a little background on us, why we care so much, because we've got a lot of hate recently over being negative. But like Rocky said, we are trying to just call a spade a spade. And last week deserved a lot of criticism. This week, sure, they deserve some criticism, but I think there's some positives we can take away from this game. Georgia finishes off 38-12 over Tennessee. I tell you what, guys, for me, I thought the turning point in the game, Tennessee trails 10-0. Georgia, I think they had a 4th and inches. They convert. They go straight down the field to go up 17-0. Tennessee takes a knee there, and then Georgia comes out to start the second half, goes right back down the field, 24-0 Georgia. I thought at that point Tennessee could have folded. I thought they could have given up and quit. But I don't think anybody on this team ever quit tonight. Of course, we're recording right after the game, probably be up later. You might be listening to this on Sunday. But anyway, Tennessee, nobody gave up tonight, and I thought that was encouraging. The fact that they fought back, and I think it was, at one point, 24-12. Sure, the scoreboard doesn't read that way, but I was proud of some things. Look, God, man, just Tennessee. You can't make this stuff up. You know, Taylor getting the sack, and the ball bounces up and they run it in for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? That only happens to teams like Tennessee. I thought it was interesting that Georgia fumbled the ball 4 times, didn't lose a single one of them.
Didn't lose one.
I mean, it's just amazing. It's, again, you could use the ongoing phrase of this podcast, why Tennessee? JP, opening comments on UT Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of them for fighting. I mean, like you said, down 24-0.
Let me say this real quick, because we both said it. We're proud of them for fighting. At what point do we stop with the moral victories? I'm criticizing myself in that too. You know,
it's not a moral victory. I mean, God, this is the 3rd game he's surely lost by 26 points. But, in years past, there's no way down 24-0, it would have ended like 41-0 like it did last year. So, at least we had some fight there. At least we made Georgia at least play the 4th quarter, with that. And, I think all in all, for how long that the defense stayed on the field today, because they certainly didn't get any help from the offense, especially in the first half, which was just absolutely pathetic, which I'm sure we'll talk about and argue about. But, one thing that I thought that Tennessee would struggle with today that didn't happen was the big plays. Now, I know that Georgia missed a couple probably potential touchdowns there in the first half with overthrows, but I was expecting Georgia to run the football, and then go to play action pass, and then the next thing you know, it's over our head. And it didn't happen. So, I think that's positive. Certainly we didn't give anything up on special teams, which I had a concern about there as well with that.
Once they learned how to line up.
What's that?
Did we lose JP?
No, I'm here. I thought you said
Oh.
something.
I said once they learned how to line up on special teams.
Oh, gosh. I don't think I've ever seen that in a football game. I don't think I've ever seen that. That was unreal. I mean, it was just crazy. I don't even
The
know how to
fact that
explain
Pruitt was
that.
standing there arguing with the official as they lined up incorrectly again to do it again back to back.
I mean, what's up with
Just
that?
amazing. I think it was clear it wasn't just a mistake on the players. That's how they were coached to line up, and Pruitt didn't understand that it was illegal.
I don't know. I thought that the offensive line played better today. I mean, I know we didn't really rush for much, but I think as far as pass protection goes,
really?
I think it was better.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Well, I think so. How many sacks did Garantano get?
I think he got sacked twice.
I think twice.
How many times did he get pressured?
Yeah.
Of course, there was a couple of times on those pass plays where nobody was open.
But there wasn't anybody just free running in there like there was a lot of times against Florida.
I think there was one time there in the first half where a Georgia guy got in there pretty quick. I still kind of wonder if Garantano couldn't have gotten rid of it, but it was quick. I can't fault him for that,
But I don't think the offensive line. I could not sit here and say they improved to this week. Well, they averaged less than 3 yards a carry easily.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
we
two.
We didn't have
maybe
2.5
2.5
yards. There was one time Chandler got outside one-on-one, and the guy made a play on him. He gets by that, he's going for a while because it appeared the wide receiver had his block out there, and he could have went for some long yardage on that.
I 100% agree, Rock. I was sitting there watching that, and I was like, man, you have got to stay on your feet. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, running back at that level just can't allow a guy to swipe at him like that and get him to fall down. You just can't do it. But I don't know. I mean, they could have just laid down and just like they did last year against Georgia, but they didn't. I mean, like I said, at least that they made Georgia play the fourth quarter this year, but God, it still sucks. I mean, it sucks. I mean, losing 38-12 to this bunch, just tired of it.
Tennessee averaged 2.6 yards per carry.
We gained 209 total yards, 66 rushing.
What about you, Rock? What are your overall comments on the Georgia game?
I'm kind of like you guys. I actually got a little excited there in the second half when they scored the second touchdown. And then I don't know why we went for two right there. Because you want to stay within a field goal and a touchdown and 2 point, I would think. But I don't know. It's just frustrating. And I texted you guys and I said, I'm kind of starting to feel like Randy Quaid in Major League 2. I'm just not really negative with Tennessee football right now, and I'm not impressed with Jeremy Pruitt. Call it what you will, guys. If you want to blast me on the comments, blast away. It feels to me like a last year of a coach opposed to a first year. I'm not seeing much progress. Defense, I'll give defense credit. They were on the field a lot, but why did it take to the second half to open up the offense a little bit? Is it quarterback? Is it play calling? And I've gone back and forth on both of them. I don't know what the answer is in this. I don't know if there's a happy medium. More or less, it's a sad medium at this point. But I just don't get a lot of. I thought the offensive line was better as well, but it doesn't show in the stats. I think running backs have got to make some guys miss, and then you turn around and I just don't know. I don't have an answer on the offense. I really don't, but I'm not seeing a very well coached team a lot of times. I don't think. I guess I'm gonna start with positives. I don't want to be negative. I thought Darrell Taylor played his butt off today. He forced a couple of fumbles. He had a sack. I mean, Tennessee football in a nutshell. That bounce comes right up the guy and he runs it for a touchdown. What's the odds of that? And
Crazy, isn't it?
it is, and they forced a fumble on from. What happens? It bounces backwards. Nothing but Georgia guys around. I mean, every one of them bounced Georgia's way right there. Now I'm not. Let me go ahead and preface this. Georgia was definitely a better team, no doubt about it. I mean, I picked 66-10, so this is obviously a lot better than I picked. And I'm not saying Tennessee would have been a game, but it just, I don't know. I'm just, maybe they don't have players, and we've said that, but you've got Jawan Jennings who, you said during the text, JP, I'd be throwing him all the time. And
2 catches today.
2 catches, and that was probably about the only 2 times he was targeted.
Yep.
I mean, we hit a point in the second half where they scored the touchdown to cut 24-12. How many times on that drive, including the 2-point conversion, did guys not even know what was going on? Guys didn't know the play on it. What's going on right there? I mean, is somebody not calling the right play or what? But it just seems really unorganized with that team.
But do you see it as unorganized on the defensive side of the ball? How much do you think it's hurting that Helton, it's his first gig as an offensive coordinator, and Pruitt is a defensive guy who spends a lot of time with the secondary and working with the defense. He calls the defensive plays, and I think, we talked about progression, and we knew this was going to be a rough season, and all we wanted to see is Tennessee continue to get better. And I think the defensive side of the ball has continued to get better. They're not great, but that's where you can say Tennessee doesn't have the horses to compete, right? But you're seeing progression, and that's what we want to see. We're not really seeing progression on the offensive side of the ball. It's pretty much the same. You could argue worse. Do you think how much of the factor is because, again, you got a first-time offensive coordinator, and we'll get into the play calling here in a minute, but how much is it a factor that the head coach spends so much time focusing on defense? Although I did hear he spent some time with the offense a little bit more this week in practice.
I mean, you've got a point. The defense has played better. I don't think – I mean, they didn't really – there could have been a couple plays, Georgia, a few plays they hit for big yards and they missed on them. I don't think there's been the blown assignments. 34's got to either start tackling or go to the bench. Each of the touchdown plays, he missed a tackle that would have saved the touchdown. That's rough right there. That is rough. And I know the ball bounce on the fumble. That sucked. It was bad luck. But 34 had a shot. He misses the tackle. Fields runs it in for touchdown. He misses the tackle. You got to make those plays right there. If he can't make them, put somebody else in that will. But I think the defense is definitely, we've seen better out of them. The offense is just stuck in neutral, if not gone back. They're just, and I don't know what the problem is with it. Is it quarterback? Is it the line? Is it the offensive coordinator? I think it's a combination of all of it, honestly. Just infuriates me to see them, that 3rd and 4 in the, was it the third quarter, and you hand off right there. That's terrible. That's a terrible play call.
See, I agree. I agree with that. That was a terrible call. And I think that he makes some bad calls. I think Tyson Hill definitely makes some bad calls. But what I thought was interesting, you guys were both, I mean, you were on the anti-Helton bandwagon hard and fast in that first half. And it's hard not to be, right? Like you talk about looking at stats versus what's actually happening on the field. But something I thought was interesting. Well, first, this is what I thought about Helton in the first half. I thought he tried to mix it up a little bit more on first down. Listen, last week we did not hold anything back. We threw Helton under the bus. They ran such a high percentage on first and second down. Very telegraphed what he was doing. But I thought he did try to mix it up some on first down. I thought they ran some good play action stuff. I think they tried to get the ball to guys like Callaway and Jennings early. But okay, here we go. This is my point that I wanted to bring up, and this is not me saying Tyson Helton is the next big thing, but it's interesting. They had 5 offensive drives in the first half. 2 of those drives, they had 3rd and 1. So 2 out of 5 drives, you had 3rd and 1. How many times on this podcast, JP, have you said, if you can't line up on 3rd and 1 and run it for a first down, you got problems on your offensive line? How many times? Are we all in agreement that you got to win 3rd down? Tennessee has failed to do that. But 3rd and 1 on 2 out of 5 drives, you should be able to call anything. And he called, I think they had London in at fullback, and he can't get a yard. And then I think he dialed up a good little play action to Pope, and Garantano can't make the throw. So who's to blame for that? Just two different plays. I'm not mad at the play calls. Do you agree?
3rd and 1 is probably the worst down and distance that Tennessee football can be in offense.
Not. Well, you're saying that. Why? Okay, why?
And it's been like that since Fulmer was fired, because they don't have an offensive line.
I'm not worried about Butch Jones. I'm not worried about Lane Kiffin. That is completely irrelevant to the conversation of Tyson Helton calling plays.
It's because they don't have an offensive line that can push.
So whose fault is that?
Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I think this first half.
It's the prior coach's fault for having the players that they brought in, and I don't think it's as much as the players that they brought in. I think it's the lack of a consistent strength and conditioning program, I think, is the biggest issue.
But again, I think that's why I think it's an interesting point to criticize Helton when 2 of the 5 drives were because they couldn't gain a yard. And it's I don't know how you can criticize him when I think he had 2 good plays called on those. Do you disagree, Rock?
I think something that, and I'm going to circle back around, I think Pruitt's having a hard time understanding his personnel right now.
Huge problem.
Because when have we seen London lined up as a fullback this year? Georgia, if I'm noticing that, I'm pretty sure these Georgia coaches, who are pretty good coaches, are going to notice that. And there's no lead blocker for him right there. Should he been able to get that? Yeah. And then you're throwing Austin Pope. I'm just not trusting Austin Pope right now. It was a bad throw. And Austin Pope's not very agile. If it's not right at him, he's not going to catch it. And I see your point. I definitely see your point on it. Was it bad calls? Not necessarily, but I'm not going to sit here and say it was a great call. I would have probably run London as a tailback and got a blocker for him on that. But you're going with I see your point. I see your point, and I don't disagree with it any. I think you've got to know your personnel better right there. I really do.
Well, we talked about it, because the offense, how much success, it's not like they just ran up and down the field, but they started moving the ball in the second half, and it's just like I got slapped in the face. When this team's in shotgun and spreads out the defense, they execute so much better. Not just throwing the ball, but running the ball. They had a lot of success when they were going shotgun. And that's when you talk about Pruitt, understanding his personnel. Listen, this team is not recruited to be a power offense. And I know that's Pruitt's. That's what he wants to do, and I respect that. I think that's what I want them to be able to do. But right now, they just cannot do it. So, are you stubborn, and do you continue to try to run that power pro style offense and gain 2.6 yards per carry, or do you say, okay, these are the guys I have? It's a fine balance, It's a fine balance because you're coming in and taking over. You want to do your thing. You don't want to come in with JP's favorite Butch Jones offense. That what was it you called it?
As
He called it infallible.
offense.
There you go. There you go.
That's what he called it.
I just
I
think
just
in
made
that
fun
point,
of it.
you've got to, and Banks has proven he's not trustworthy. That's why he's not playing right now.
Yeah, you can't play him.
But I don't know
It's
why.
a shame, too.
I don't necessarily disagree with London getting the carry. I would have rather seen a lead blocker for him. They haven't run that any. But your line's got to do the job there. That's for sure. The 3rd and 1 was more to the weak side. Didn't really have much room for much right there. I don't know. I'm not a big weak side guy, really. You go to that side where you don't have much room on it.
Was you talking about the pass on 3rd down?
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
really no room
Yeah.
right there
I know.
either. And
It blows my mind when offenses do that to the weak side.
I mean, I understand it occasionally, but it just seems like Tennessee runs that side, that shorter field a lot. Not necessarily runs a play to that side. I mean, we saw a Wildcat one time worked pretty well. I don't know. I don't have the answers for it. I'm still kind of baffled a lot, but I will say this: I'm not a real fan of Pruitt right now. I'm not a big fan of Helton. Pruitt's done pretty good with he's done okay with the defense, but he's got to know his personnel better. And Helton, I mean, why are we waiting to the second half to kind of get creative with the ball and stuff? I thought they did on the first possession, even though they got a long run to start it, and then they're 3 and out after that run. I still like the creativity, but after that, I just didn't see it there. And why are we waiting late to throw the ball down the field? Is that a Helton call, or is that a Garantano read right there? Because I just don't know.
That's another thing that.
And
yeah,
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not.
That's another thing.
You know, people are convinced Garantano's the guy. I'm not high on him. I've not been all year. And somebody posts Chris looked great against the ETSU St. Street. LOL. Well, if you put 2 LOLs in a comment, your opinion's negated right there. Okay, talk like a human being, not some little sissy that's using emojis and all that crap at this point in time.
Note to self: the next time I send a text in the
There's a
group
difference
message.
between a text and a message board.
Yeah,
We all do it on text. That's one thing. Message board, if that's your response, just go on somewhere. But I don't know.
Well, let me say this: we've pretty much talked about all this of the play calling so far. You like the first drive? Yeah, they went 3 and out, but they did show some creativity. I think they motioned Johnson maybe and tried to get him the ball in space. They tried Palmer on an end around. Then you had the 2 3rd and 1 ordeals. So that's the first 3 drives right there. The 4th drive, you know, they come out, they try to run the ball a little bit. They did roll the pocket out in the 4th drive. And yeah, if you're wondering how I know this, I did chart every single offensive play call. 3rd and 5, they went slant to Jennings and picked up the first down. And then here we go, 1st and 10, and you got Drew Richmond with a false start. So you're 1st and 15 once again. And yeah, you can overcome a 1st and 15, but gosh almighty,
This team can't.
They can't. So now we're on the fourth drive of the game, of the first half, that we're discussing play calling on, and you got 1st and 15 because Drew Richmond. They came back with a counter left to Chandler, which I thought they had some success with those little counter plays to the backside. But then you ended up with 2nd and 7, and you had 2 incomplete passes to DWA, and which forced the punt. And then the last drive, let's see, that's where they picked up another first down, and then they went empty backfield on a 2nd and 9, and that's when Georgia ran that stunt and got the sack. So you end up in 3rd and 17. And we can talk about this play call, running a give up draw play on a 3rd and 17.
That. I absolutely hate that, and they did it against West Virginia. Worst case, though, a screen. Nobody's confused by that little give up draw right there. It hadn't confused anybody as long as I can remember. And
well, they obviously knew that it was coming because they met him in the backfield.
Yeah,
you know?
it's just I hate these give up
Which
plays, and that's what burns me up. I mean, I get the counter, or somebody will counter. Well, if you throw a pick right before the half, it changes the game. 30 seconds and 2 timeouts at 25-yard line. I'm at least going to try to take a shot to get it down the field. If I don't, or if I turn it over, then there's still not a lot of time left on it. But I just absolutely, this is where my complaint with Pruitt, and this is his calls. He's given up at the half and end of games, and I do not like it. I do not like just taking a knee and riding out with timeouts. If you have no timeouts right there, so be it. But you've got 2 timeouts, your 25-yard line. This isn't 1980s football anymore. You can try to take a shot or two, get it down, maybe get a field goal. Are the odds good for that? No, but has it happened? Yeah, it's happened before. And then at the end of the game, with 3 minutes to go and you're down 31-12, I'm coming out throwing, trying to get down. I'm not going to show them giving up. First thing, you run it and fumble it. Georgia goes in for a score, and then you put Chris in to hand it off 3 times. I don't like it. I don't like that. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong either. But that's just give up plays.
Going
give
back
up
to
plays. I don't like it.
But before the half, for me, I don't have a problem if you don't want to throw it down the field and risk a turnover, but at least try to run a draw play. Try to pop something. You run a draw play and pick up 10. Now let's just run up on the ball. Like you said, you got 30 seconds and 2 timeouts. Now maybe, you're on the 35? I can't remember where they had the ball.
So, yeah, you're right.
So you say you pick up 10 and a first down, you're on the 35. Now maybe think about taking a shot, 15, 20 yards. You catch that, now take a timeout. Now you're talking about possible field goal range. But I agree 100%. And that's – again, it's you got to put the blame on the head man because he's the one that makes that decision.
Yeah, and I don't like a give-up attitude, and I don't care what your personnel is or what have you. Yeah, he's gone for 4th downs earlier in the year, but I don't like it. I don't like give up. I don't like the end of the game. You're down, just running it right there. I'm going to try to go down and get some points if I can. Just my opinion on it. Again, doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong, but if I'm being negative, so be it. But I'm not seeing progression like I hoped, and I'm not seeing a guy that I think's going to win down there. So there's you can quote me on that one. I'm not seeing it right now.
Well, if my opinion counts, which it don't mean nothing, but
I thought we were going to have to wait 10 minutes to wait on you to talk.
Well, I've been listening. I think it's way too soon to say whether or not Jeremy Pruitt's going to be successful down there. Way too soon. Way too soon. Or if he's not going to be successful. This team has to get better on the offense and the defensive line. I know during the games I get mad about these play calling and stuff, but I'm telling you right now, with the offensive line especially, it's so handicapped that there's just really, I'm sure that it's hard to call plays to sustain any type of drive. And when you can't convert 3rd down and 1, and when that is your worst down and distance, because it is, and it's been like that since Fulmer was fired, there has not been an offensive line down there that can just take over a football game. And that's what Georgia did there in the fourth quarter, and we got it down to 24-12, and they got the ball, and they took it right down the field, and they ran it down their throats, and they scored. And that's what Tennessee used to do, and that's what Pruitt wants to do. But when you got softies up there on the offensive line that have been in a strength and conditioning program that's had like 4 different strength and conditioning coaches since they've been down there, and for 2 years they didn't even lift weights because old Butch didn't think that they needed to, this is what you get. And until that changes, I think we can sit here and criticize coaches, criticize and play calling or whatever, but it ain't going to matter. I'm telling you right now, football games, and especially in the Southeastern Conference, is won at the line of scrimmage. And if you don't control the line of scrimmage, I don't care if Peyton Manning was back there. I don't care if Jamal Lewis was the running back. If you got offensive line that's getting pushed back and they're not getting any push, it's going to be hard to score.
You sound like me when I'm trying to defend myself to you during the games.
I just get frustrated, Boogie,
I know you
I'm
do.
telling you,
I know you do.
it is hard to sit there and watch that crap. I mean, we didn't even cross midfield until 8 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Something I'm kind of backpedaling on is using the word creative. Although I do like the stuff of going in motion and trying to get the ball to guys like Callaway, in space and let them make a guy miss or make a play. But something that I don't think this team does enough is the slant, man. I know they hit Jennings on one. That I think they have had more success spreading out and throwing quick passing plays, and they just don't do it enough. But
maybe we'll start spreading it out more. I mean, I thought that was something that was brought up this week that Tennessee should look to do, because I mean, it is obvious that we don't have an offensive line that can just line up tight like that and then get those yards, because when those defenses are keying on the run, I mean, we just can't block them. I mean,
is it just me or am I wrong? Was there not a clear difference after Tennessee went down 24-0? Did the formations not completely change on offense? I felt like there was a lot of under center power style stuff in the first half, and then when they got down 24-0, I felt like they were in shotgun and way more spread out for the second half of the game.
Yeah, it was.
And that's when they found success. So why not start with that? Why wait till you're down 24-0?
Maybe they will not next week. Maybe they will against.
Don't worry, I gotta pick them for it. We're gonna make a pick before this podcast is over, but I'm gonna save that for a little bit later. What about you, Rock? What do you think this offense? Listen, it is what it is. We know what they have. What do you think they need to do to move the football?
They've got to get creative, just like they did in the second half. You can't wait till you're down 24-0 to try to get creative. And I understand they're trying to establish their game plan, and so be it. But it's not worked in any game this year. It's not worked in any game. Why are we still at the fifth game still trying to establish the same crap that we tried to establish 4 previous games? It hasn't worked. That's insanity right there. Trying to do the same thing over and over, and it's not working. I don't get it. I liked what I saw for a couple drives in the second half, but it's like when Georgia put that 8-minute drive together to go up 31-12, and we're content just to hand the ball off again. But that's kind of, I guess, against the question, but you've got to try something different. And again, I don't know if this is play. I don't know if it's quarterback. Garantano throws short a lot, and these times he throws short, it's not like a guy has a chance to catch it and make a play on it. These guys are covered. They're not going to get any more yardage if they catch it. I don't know if it's, again, I've said it, I keep repeating myself, but I don't know if it's him or the play calling on it. But why, I don't understand why we're have to get down by 24 points to mix it up and get creative. The first drive, I liked what I saw. It didn't work out. But until 8 minutes ago in the third quarter, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary right there. I just don't know, and I don't understand it. And who knows? I don't know what else to say, honestly.
Let's.
I just think
Well,
it boils down to that they don't have any confidence in the offensive line, and I don't think they have any confidence in
Well, I was going
Garantano.
to say, I mean, yeah, and I'm glad you said it too. It's got to be both. And I really thought
Yeah,
the
it's
line was
both,
better
yeah.
today. I know it probably doesn't show on the stats. I really thought they were better today. I just don't. I'm not sold on Garantano, and I'm not saying there's a better option. But if I'm McBride and I'm Shrout and I'm even Marr that's coming in, I'm licking my chops next year to take that job because I don't think Garantano's got a stranglehold on it by any means.
No, I don't either. I mean, hope is that he can continue to progress and hopefully get better between this year and next year. And, if we can figure out a way to get an offensive line that can at least be somewhat
Serviceable.
somewhat
Yeah.
productive, because first 5 games of the season has not been the case, but it's been tough. I mean, it's just tough to sit down and just watch this team struggle the way they do. I mean, it's just.
I wish I could see what's going on down the field.
Yeah, I know
with
it. I know
Garantano,
it.
because there's a lot of times, he checks down and throws underneath. Is it a matter of he's scared? Because he's made some good throws downfield. I mean, let's be honest. Look at the big plays they've had this year. They've had some big plays, but a lot of times it seems like he takes the easy, safe throw, and I don't know if he's scared to force it down the field. He's afraid to turn the ball over, or if somebody's not open down the field. I would just like to see what's going on downfield. There was one we pointed out during the text while we were watching the game live. It was, I can't remember if it was a second or a third down, and he forced it, I think, to Wood Anderson maybe, and somebody was wide open.
That
I mean,
second
absolutely
down,
wide
I'm
open.
pretty sure it was
in the
Brandon
slot.
Johnson across the middle.
Yeah, and it's almost like he came out of the huddle knowing where he was going with the football. And I don't pretend to know his progressions and know his first read. I don't know, but I know when somebody's wide open across the middle of the
I
field.
just want to
That's
say,
for sure.
too, I'm not, I've criticized Pruitt. I'm not against him, but I've maintained the same stance since our first podcast this year. He's going to have to prove it to me. And he's not proving it to me right now. Is the deck stacked against him? Maybe so, but I'm just not liking a lot of what I'm seeing. Not knowing your personnel. Hell, you're standing right there and you're letting guys line up wrong on a punt 2 times in a row. And I mean,
And arguing
there's
about
just
it,
a lot
too.
of unorganized stuff I'm seeing on it. That's where I'm at with it. He's got to prove it to me. Is next 2 games are going to, they might get blown out again. The odds are, but I want to see some. I don't just want to see a 4th down call here and there that shows me you got guts. All right, I want to see somebody that's going to open it up, try to win, and not just be content handing the ball off and then throwing check downs the whole game or whatever. That's where I'm at. I still want to see it proven to me. Are there things I've seen that I've liked? Yes, but there's probably an equal amount I've seen that I do not like, that I'm not seeing progression. And I've maintained the whole year. I want to see progression, and I'm not happy with the progression I'm seeing.
Well, I'm still going to stand by the stance that I'm not going to judge these coaches until they get their players in there until they
But
get
these
this
are their
offensive line
players. That's the
straightened
thing.
out.
They're, regardless if you recruited them, they're still your players to develop. That's my stance on it. You still got to get. It's what you've got. You've got to get them better, regardless whether you recruited them or not.
Well, yeah, but I think, like I said, one of the biggest things as far as the line goes is just the lack of strength and conditioning. Um, I mean, for whatever reason, it seems like that this program has just churned through strength and conditioning coaches as much as it has coaches. I mean, of course, I guess it has because they all bring their own guy in. But, I mean, we need somebody down there, and hopefully Fitzgerald is the one that is going to stay down there for a while and can help develop these kids in the off season because, I'm expecting a big jump from this year to next year as far as what this offensive line should be able to do. If we're sitting here next year having this conversation after the Georgia game and we physically got whipped again, then I'm going to be like, yeah, I mean, there's something that's going on here. But, I don't know in 8 months' time or 9 months' time how much ever that Pruitt has had down there. I mean, and yes, that doesn't negate the fact that we had 2 consecutive illegal formation penalties on the punt team. Yes, 100% agree. That's on coaching. I have no doubt about that at all. But those 2 plays didn't end up costing us the football game. I still stand by the fact that what ultimately lost us the football game is that we don't have what it takes to win in the trenches. We don't have what it takes to win at the line of scrimmage. And I think that as far as offensive goes, that handicaps you so much as far as the play calling. Yes, we were ultra conservative in the first half, and I think a lot of that has to do with concerns that what happened last Saturday in Neyland against Florida is that we got sacked, we turned it over, all of that stuff, and I think that the coaches were conservative with it. So we get down by 24 and they start opening it up. But I agree, though, we need to start playing to win the football game in the first half. And if they sack us, they sack us. I mean, there's just nothing that you can do about it. Those are the growing pains that you're going to have to live with.
Tennessee's offense has yet to score a touchdown in the first quarter of a football game this entire season.
Well,
through 5 games. For me, up to this point, obviously, I've got concerns. I'm not ready to say Pruitt is or is not the guy 5 games into his head coaching career. For me, where I'm really going to judge him is the last 5 games of the season. South Carolina, not so much Charlotte, but South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. And, yeah, I know Kentucky's a good football team this year, but that's where I think this team needs to be making moves, getting better at that point. Listen, Georgia, at Auburn, Alabama, that's ridiculous. And yes, you can't just walk. I mean, nobody in the country expected Tennessee to have a shot today. And when you look at the score after the game, people didn't watch that game. They just saw the score and think, well, Georgia just whipped them. And that yeah, they did. I mean, that's a score. It is what it is. But Tennessee played a lot better today than I expected. And so I'm just reserving judgment for those last 5 games. That's where I want to see them make some improvements. And, we talked about last week, obviously some of us were a little irritated last week, and some of us acted like a complete fool on this podcast last week. I apologize for that. But it is what it is, man. I was frustrated. I just want to see this team get better down the stretch. I mean, that's it.
Well, I mean, like you said, 5. That's where we'll see it at. This is a tough stretch. I guess if last week would have been a better showing, I probably wouldn't be as aggravated this week. But after that show last week, I'm just pretty down on Tennessee football right now. It's just we've been beat, kicked in the stomach for how long now? I just want to see somebody that looks like they're ready to grab the bull by the horns and go. And, I hope Pruitt is the guy. I really do. Will he be? We don't know. I just expected them to look a little better than I've seen at this point on offense. I guess that's what I'm down on. I just don't see any progression at all on this offense. And defense is getting better. I mean, they're on the field for feels like the whole game. They're obviously going to gas at some point. But we got to see something out of the offense. If it's open, why is it taking 8 minutes in the third quarter to get across the 50-yard line? Why can't we do this stuff in the first half? It just seems like they're content getting to the halftime not blown out. And I just don't like that. I just don't like it. It just does not set well with me. It is what it is.
It's backwards because it's like you said, Pruitt, he's come out and he's gone for it on 4th down, and he's made some decisions that makes you say, man, this head coach has balls. But then you look at the conservative approach to start the game, and it's like it's complete opposite of some of these 4th down calls, man. So I don't know. Like you said, it is what it is. Tennessee is off this coming week on October 6th. Rocky, I'll ask you, we'll just talk about it right here on the air. I mentioned it to JP, and is it too early to do a basketball preview? Look, we're going to do a podcast. We'll even though it's a bye week, we're still going to put out a show. I just didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about basketball or if it was too early to do that.
I mean, we can talk it a little bit if we need to. I don't know if I'm ready for a full blown, but right now, I mean, if you want me to throw a little bit in, I can. Absolutely.
We'll discuss it off air and decide what we want to do. But like I said, we will have a podcast next week. Tennessee's off. Go play some golf. Go fish. Go have some fun. But there's some place you need to be at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and that is in front of your TV because Conor McGregor returns to action against Khabib at UFC 229 for the UFC lightweight title. Boys, it's a barn burner. We're going to be throwing dollies through bus windows. That's the pick'em this week. JP, I don't even know if you have a clue what we're talking about, but who you got, McGregor or Khabib? Who's taking home the UFC lightweight title?
All I gotta say is the nature boy, Ric Flair.
Hey,
I had no idea.
Really? Not at all?
2 animals in there fighting each other. That's the boringest stuff on earth.
Oh my gosh!
Even more boring than Tennessee's offense.
Couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch that junk.
I don't know what to think about this, man. I was so stoked for this fight to happen, and then Khabib's last fight was just so
methodical,
disappointing.
Is that McGregor guy? Is that the one that threw all that stuff through that bus or something?
Oh my gosh, you sound like I'm talking to an old lady at church or something. Yes, it is, sweetheart. Sit down and listen.
Well, I mean, that was so WWE, it wasn't even funny.
Well, it was. I mean, it was ridiculous, and it was to sell the fight. Now it's going to be the biggest fight in UFC history, but mark my words, if Khabib had walked off that bus, Conor McGregor would have punched him in the face. There would have been no all for show. The fight would have been on, but it was ridiculous and stupid, and Conor McGregor's a psychopath. But, man, he's fun to watch at the press conference. Did you watch the press conference?
I saw some of the playbacks of it. It was about what I expected of it. Really. It was probably a little more low-key than I expected, honestly.
I enjoyed it. I like when he just lets loose and talks trash versus talking about, like, when he just talks about money, that gets old. But, man, he went after Khabib. He won the press conference. But who you got? On paper, like I said, that last fight for Khabib was just so, man, he just did not look like himself. On paper, I say that Khabib takes him down and mauls him, but I'm going to let you pick first. Who you got on Saturday night?
For in this one. Despite all the money, I'm a McGregor guy. That's where I am. Depends on how it fight. If it stays on the feet, McGregor sleeps him. If it goes to the ground, I think Khabib. I'm not making a prediction because anytime I pick who I want to win, they don't win. So I don't know. I really don't. I've gone back and forth on it. I do think McGregor's got a real shot, though, because I don't think he'll just be bullied around on the ground the whole time. Stays on the feet, McGregor will knock him cold.
Oh, yeah. Khabib can't come out and fight like he did Al Quinte and stand on his feet. He'll get
now, if you're listening, now something
inside one round.
Though, our old boy OSP's fighting on the UFC card, too. So, I don't know how he'll do. He's so Jekyll and Hyde, you never know. I hope he pulls one out here, but I know it's not.
Dude, you also got Tony Ferguson and Anthony Pettis. That's going to be a great fight. I don't know about Lewis. I don't know. After his last fight, I don't know what. I think this will be different. But Khabib, Conor, I think Chad Mendes would have beat Conor McGregor on a full camp. And whether people agree or disagree, I think it's factual. I think Mendes would have taken him down and mauled him. And I think Khabib is a better wrestler than Chad Mendes. So I'm going to choose to ignore that last fight. Khabib's 26-0, but not fought a whole lot of people. I'm still going Khabib, man. I think he takes Conor down, and just even if he lays on him for 5 rounds, he's going to take him down.
Think of it as
maul him. Said he's going to take him down and punish him.
The best thing that may ever happen to McGregor was losing to Diaz, and I think he's changed his game a lot since then. And he's not an easy guy to take down, really. I mean, Eddie Alvarez tried it.
No, he's not. He's
wrestler.
not.
Diaz tried it. Diaz got him down once or twice in the second fight, but
see, I don't think either one of those guys wrestle like Chad Mendes.
No, and I don't either. It's just, I really don't know. I don't know. I hope McGregor wins, but it just depends on how it goes. It's a fight of matchups. If it's on the feet, there's no doubt who it's going. It's McGregor. If it goes to the ground, it's no doubt Khabib. I'm fired up for it. I'm fired up.
That's why styles make fights. Styles make fights. I can't wait. But who thought we were going to talk about UFC? I didn't even have that planned. It just came to my mind when I was like, oh, we don't have a game to pick. We need some time filler. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Talkin VAWLS. I just got one thing left to say, and that's go Big Orange.
Jack Kerouac, he drank himself to death in New England, and I'd like to take his hand and say, Jack, man, it's okay now.